Cressel TDI Clean Diesel is a 37-foot center console manufactured by Statement Marine, and she's powered by twin 350 horsepower Cummins McCruiser diesel TDI turbo diesel engines. She has an integrated navigation system by Simrad. Some of the unique features about this boat you might not see anywhere else in the world, but it has a full air ride suspension system. So the entire deck of the boat rests on airbags and shock absorbers, which reduce crew fatigue for events such as the Bermuda Challenge, which is a 780-mile offshore endurance powerboat run from New York City to Bermuda. Well, an event like the Bermuda Challenge, you can't necessarily win the event with preparation, but you can certainly lose it. And so our approach to getting ready for the Bermuda Challenge is first to build the best team possible. So we did that by finding manufacturers and sponsors that manufacture the absolute best product, whether it was a life preserver or an integrated navigation system or engines or hull. We went out to industry and found the absolute best components and got those individual specialists and companies together along with the two best crewmen in the industry to prepare to build a boat to break this record. Now, one of the things that's really important before you attempt a 780-mile offshore powerboat race is that you have time to set up the boat and test and test and test. And we probably spent about 6 months running the boat in various locations in the country, setting it up for optimum cruise, which we set up for 40 miles an hour, and then testing the boat to see what the fuel burn is at different weight loading conditions, because we have to take so much fuel for this run. You use more fuel the heavier the boat is, and so earlier on in the race you're burning more fuel than later on, and so it's important that you know exactly how much fuel burn you're going to have at any separate loading condition. So we spent a tremendous amount of time adjusting props, adjusting gear ratios, running the boats with different amounts of sandbags to make sure that we knew exactly how much the boat was going to burn at any given fuel condition. Another important aspect, once the boat has been thoroughly tested, is weather. And so in this case, we utilize the services of Applied Weather Technology, who are probably the world's premier weather marine forecasting company. And they took our specific route from New York City to Bermuda and entered it into their model, which incorporates all of the major models around the world for wave height, wind, currents, and marine weather. And they started in about April of this year, looking 14 days ahead to try to find us the optimum weather. And we gave them a threshold of less than 4-foot seas before we would consider making the run. So I think those are some of the more important points that we tried to incorporate in our plan to go ahead and try to break Boating Magazine's Bermuda Challenge World Record. Well, once the boat's all tested and ready to go, the most critical factor in determining when to actually make the run is obviously weather. And so once we were all dialed in and comfortable that the boat was as prepared as it could possibly be, then we put all our attention on the weather. And so multiple times a day for about 45 days, we were waiting for that weather window. And in this case, not only did we have about 5 hurricanes to wait through, but we also had an earthquake, which was very unusual for the east coast of the United States. So at about day 44, and talking with our weather routing company, we started to see a high pressure system develop after a low was moving through that would provide about 4 days of high pressure, starting that would build off of New England and move down and set right on our course. And so we started about a week out starting to look at this weather window and talking with our crew. And each day the weather forecast started looking a little better and a little better. And about 3 days out, we started getting very serious when we saw the weather forecast was for 2 to 3 foot seas for our entire 780-mile track line. And so we started putting the logistics in place to move the boat up to the start line in Jersey City, New Jersey, and get our crew positioned so that we could take advantage of this potential weather opportunity. So we assembled the crew in New Jersey, and we made our last weather check about 4 hours before our 09:30 start time, and the forecast was still 2 to 3 foot seas for the entire duration of the run, with a potential 3 to 4 foot low pressure system around the middle of our track line. So we left 09:30 sharp, just north of the Statue of Liberty, to fairly good sun and slick, calm weather. And as we ran out the harbor, the fog started setting in, and once we got about 3 miles west of the Verrazano Bridge, we encountered shutout fog, which was very challenging to navigate through because there's a lot going on in New York Harbor between boats and buoys and bridges. So we had shutout fog, probably less than 50-foot visibility for a distance of probably 8 miles that we had to navigate through. And once we started getting out closer to the entrance to the mouth of the bay, it started to open it up. And about 10 miles past the entrance to the bay, we started finally to see the sun, and the sun came out, and it was just a beautiful, slick, calm day. About 6-inch waves, the sun was shining, and not a cloud in the sky. And so we ran at about between 40 and 44 miles an hour for about 300 miles direct to Bermuda, and we were really excited. We had a good forecast ahead of us. The boat was running great. We were just sipping the fuel, so our spirits were up. And about 325 miles offshore, we started encountering a little bit more waves. They started building to 3 to 4 foot. So we brought the speed down to around 36 miles an hour. And because we have the shock mitigation system, we were really soaking up the waves and very comfortably cruising. And we were going to maintain that 36 miles an hour, hopefully the rest of the transit. Well, once we hit about 375 miles offshore, that 3 to 4 foot predicted swell actually turned into 6 to 8, and then 8 to 10, and then 10 to 12. And about that time, we're looking at about 10 o'clock at night, we were running in anywhere, it's tough to say just about how tall they were because it was pouring rain and lightning and pitch black. But it's safe to say that they were significantly higher than the top of our T-top, which is probably 10 to 12 feet above the water line. So we pushed through that 12-foot plus seas, heavy rains and lightning for about 4 hours, and we maintained anywhere between 18 to 25 miles an hour for 4 hours, pushing through, hoping to find a way through that frontal system that had unpredictably set on us. And after pushing for about 4 hours with the boat just doing its best that it could, I don't think there's another boat in the world that could have done 25 miles an hour in those conditions. And looking at our fuel consumption, we realized that we would no longer be able to set the Bermuda Challenge world record because we wouldn't be able to make up the time that we lost by going anywhere from 18 to 25 miles an hour for 4 hours. So at that point, we had the decision: do we continue on to Bermuda anyway, or do we turn back to the U.S.? And because we didn't know what was ahead of us, and we were having trouble finding a way through that weather, and we comfortably knew what was behind us, we chose the more cautious route and returned to the closest point in the U.S., which happened to be Indian River Inlet and Dewey Beach. Well, TDI Clean Diesel will be heading down to the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show October 27th through the 31st. We'll be in water there, so we'd love to have anybody interested come down and go out for a demo ride and see for yourself firsthand the high-performance Cummins Cruiser Diesel TDI engines, the Simrad integrated navigation system, including the NSS touchscreen GPS equipment we have on board, and also Statement Marine's shock mitigating hull. after the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show, we'll also be at the Miami International Boat Show. We'll be at the Sea Isle Marina venue there in water, giving demo rides as well. And then after Miami, we'll be getting her ready to give it another shot next spring. We will be ready to go the minute the weather window opens in the spring, and there's only one thing to do, is to give it another try and do the same things that we did this time and hope for slightly better weather. Well, as Nick and Mike and myself pulled into Indian River Inlet here to conclude our first Bermuda Challenge world record attempt, we commented that we all had a great time. It was a terrific adventure, and the boat and all the systems really operated flawlessly. We were very, very impressed with how the boat performed, and I don't know that there's any other boat that could have taken the pounding at the speed and efficiency that we did and come back to the dock still in great shape. We had a great time, and we're excited to take what we learned during this attempt and make a few adjustments and be ready to finally break this thing next spring. Lastly, I'd like to give a very special thanks to all of our many sponsors who put countless amount of effort and resources over the last 4 years to make the building and racing of motor vessel TDI clean diesel possible. Firstly, our title sponsor, Cummins McCruiser Diesel. Without you, none of this would even have gotten off the ground. Statement Marine, Simrad, Maersk Line Limited, Dragoon Technologies, Hawk Racing, Premier Performance Interiors, Turtle Pack, David Clark, SciTech Communications, Airtime Watersports, Airmar, Applied Weather Technologies, KVH, Shadowcaster, Quality T-Tops, Best Fab, Digigon, FlowScan, Faria, Sporisub, AG Wraps, and Sharkey-Images.com. Without you, none of this would happen. We value each and every one of your sponsorships and support in us. We worked as hard as we could to bring the Bermuda Challenge world record back this week. The ocean didn't want to give up the world record just yet, and so we're working hard over the winter to improve a great boat and make it even better. And we will be ready to go when the weather window opens in early spring. And as soon as we get a good forecast, we're excited to give it another shot.